Hello, welcome to Lily de Silva, lesson 13. This is the exercise for translation from English into Pali. As usual, I will read the English sentence out first, and then slowly, piece by piece, we'll translate into Pali. So, sentence number 1. Having picked fruits from the trees, you send them to the market. So let's deal first with having picked fruits from the trees. To pick, what he picks is ucinati or ucinoti. In Pali, more commonly ucinati. Having picked fruits, fruit is a palam, and so the plural is palani. So having picked fruits, palani ucinitva. From the trees, that's ablative plural, that put in an ehi. Rukam, ablative plural, rukehi. So rukehi palani ucinitva, and the fruits from the trees, fruits having picked, you send them to the market. So he sends peseti, you send pesesi to the market. We just use here the accusative of motion, apanam, you send to the market, apanam pesesi. So now you from the trees, fruits having picked, becomes now you. Tum rukehi palani ucinitva apanam pesesi. Now try to repeat the entire sentence after me. Twam, the twam is optional here, just meaning you. Twam rukehi palani ucinitva apanam pesesi. We'll just have a look here at the word ucinitva. The root is chi, meaning actually the basic meaning is to pile up or arrange in a heap, put in order. So avachi literally is to, you're unheaping, and it's the word that's used for plucking, like plucking a fruit from a tree. In Sanskrit, it is a fifth class verb, so it becomes chinoti. In Pali, you see mostly chinati, as if it's the ninth class. This is one of those very frequent occasions. Pali, by the way, also has chinoti, but chinati is the more common. It very often happens between Sanskrit and Pali that what is a fifth class verb in Sanskrit, chinoti, becomes ninth class in Pali. So the next thing you may have heard of is one of the factors of enlightenment, the Dhamma Vichaya, the investigation of Dhammas and the investigation of the Dhamma. Vichaya. From the root chi, we get the verbal noun chaya, which in fact is chi, then by guna becomes che, plus a equals chaya. So vichaya literally means unheaping, taking apart, dismantling something. So the vichaya, dismantling, in the phrase Dhamma Vichaya, gives this imagery of you've got something there and you're seeing how it works, investigating it by separating its component parts, pulling it to pieces, like the reverse engineering, taking something to pieces to see how it works. So it's the same root chi, as in piling up or unpiling. So avachinati, avachinoti in Sanskrit, avachinati, ochinati or ochinoti in Pali, to unpick or take off. So I'll read the sentence again slowly and then follow after me. Tvam rukehi phalani uchinitva aparam pesesi. Now sentence number 2. Having heard the Buddha preach the doctrine, I become glad. Now, having heard sutva, we have this root, sorry, in the Sanskrit it is shru, in Pali, heard, something that has been heard, is shrutam, where we get evam maya shrutam, or in Pali evam maya sutam or evam me sutam. Sutam, and the absolutive, it's formed regularly in both languages. Shrutva in Sanskrit, sutva in Pali. Oops, sutva. So having heard the Buddha preach the doctrine, having heard the Buddha is buddham sutva. Having heard the Buddha preaching, buddham desentam sutva. So deseti, to preach, buddham desentam sutva, having heard the Buddha preach. Now, having heard the Buddha preach the doctrine is buddham dhammang desentam sutva. Buddham, or you could also say dhammang desentam buddham sutva. The word order doesn't matter very much here. I become glad. Aham pasidami. So this whole sentence again, I'll say it, and then you try to say it for yourselves, and then I'll finally say it. Dhamman desentam buddham sutva aham pasidami. Dhamman desentam buddham sutva aham pasidami. Now, sentence number 3 in English. Thinking of collecting corn, I go to the field with the farmer. Now, thinking of, so he thinks about something, chinteti. Sorry, chinteti, yes, chinteti in Pali, which is chintayati in Sanskrit. It's from the same root as chitta. Chintayati plus the direct object of a thing often has the meaning of being concerned with, thinking about it. That's the task that you have in mind. Chintayati. So, and it can take, as in this sentence it does, it can take an infinitive. So thinking of collecting corn, or just in order to collect corn, having the collection of corn in mind. To collect, sangharati, infinitive, sangharitum. So thinking of collecting corn, which is dhanyam, dhanyam sangharitum chintento, dhanyam sangharitum chintento. I go to the field, ketam gachami. I go to the field with the farmer, kassakena saddhing ketam gachami. So, thinking of collecting corn, I go to the field with the farmer. I'll say it, then you say it, then I say it. Dhanyam sangharitum chintento, aham kassakena saddhim ketam gachami. Tanyang sangharitung chintento ahang kasakena saddhing kittang gacchami. Number 4. Singing songs, you, put you in the plural here. Singing songs, you look at the birds flying in the sky. So songs, a song in the singular is a gitam. You can also have it in the feminine, gita. So using the neuter, singing songs, neuter, so songs in the neuter, and you singing in the plural, gitani gayanta. Gitani gayanta. You look at birds flying in the sky. So you look at birds, use the verb oloketi, Sanskrit avalokayati. So oloketa, you look at birds. Sakune, that's the masculine accusative plural. Sakune oloketa. You look at birds flying in the sky. So in the sky, akase uddente, so uddeti, to fly up or just to fly. So you look at birds flying in the sky. Akase uddente sakune uloketa, literally in the sky, flying birds you watch, you look at. So again, singing songs, you look at the birds flying in the sky. Singing songs, gitani gayante, you look at birds, sakune uloketa, flying in the sky. Akase uddente. Now the whole sentence. Gitani gayanta tumhe akase uddente sakune uloketa. Now you, then me. Gitani gayanta tumhe akase uddente sakune uloketa. Number 5. I advise the wicked man who oppresses the farmers in the village. So to oppress here, oppression or pain, pila, is from the Sanskrit pida. You very often find that where you get a subdotted d or d in Sanskrit between two vowels, it very often becomes a subdotted l in Sanskrit. In Pali. So pila, so he oppresses or he pains is pileti in Sanskrit, pilayati. By the way, sometimes this word is used, and we have the distinction. We say that, like, pain is compulsory, suffering is optional. Some pain is really unavoidable, but what you load onto it, the suffering you load onto it. Where you can make that distinction in Pali and Sanskrit by using the words pida and dukkha. Pali, pila, and dukkha. You sometimes find that pair used to distinguish between unavoidable real pain and the suffering we load on top of it. So I advise uvadami. Avavadami in Sanskrit, uvadami. This prefix ava in Sanskrit, this is Sanskrit, this is Pali. The prefix ava in Sanskrit is very, very often shortened to o in Pali. So in Sanskrit, avatarati, he crosses down or descends into water, or just crosses down from one realm to another, like avatar. Avatarati in Sanskrit, you mostly see otarati in Pali. avavadami, Sanskrit, obadami in Pali. So, I advise the wicked man, literally the ungood man. Sappurisam ovadami, advise the good man, the Satpurusha in Sanskrit, Sappurisa in Pali. Asappurisam ovadami, I advise the wicked man who is oppressing the farmers in the village. So in the village, the farmers oppressing. So from pileti, we get the present participle pilento, and in the accusative pilentam, because you're revising the asapurisam pilentam. The kasake pilentam, who is oppressing the farmers in the village, gamasming. So I advise the wicked man, asapurisam, obadami, who is oppressing farmers in the village. Again, rather than the English relative clause, just use the present participle, the oppressing farmers in the village. Gamasming kasake pilentam. So I'll read the whole sentence now in Pali. Gamasming kasake pilentam asapurisam aham obadami. In the key, aham is put there, that's optional. And again, you say it. Gamasming kasake pilentam asapurisam aham obadami. Number 6. We dig pits to plant trees in the park. So we dig is kanama, root kan. Same origin as our word canal. So kanama, we dig. And avato is a pit. So we dig pits. Avate kanama. In the park. Uyane. So in order to plant trees. So rupetum, so rupeti is to plant, literally to cause to grow, but it's used for to plant something in the ground. Rupeti, so the infinitive is rupetum. So in order to plant trees, ruke upetum. So we dig pits in order to plant trees in the park. In Pali you say, we in the park, trees to plant, pits we dig. So mayam uyane ruke rupetum avate kanama. Now you repeat that and then I'll say it. Mayam uyane ruke rupetum avate kanama. Number 7. We know the man who is lighting lamps in the monastery. So he knows, janati. We know, janama. We know the man, manusanjanama. The man who is lighting lamps. So to light, as in to light a lamp or set fire to something. Jaleti. The intransitive to burn is jalati, Sanskrit juvalati with a juva, written as a JV. And in the causative to cause to burn is in Sanskrit juvalayati and in Pali jaleti. So the man, in the accusative here, we know the man who is lighting lamps is dipe, masculine accusative plural, dipe jalentam manusanjanama. In the monastery, vihare or viharasmin. So we know the man who is lighting lamps in the monastery. Mayam viharasmin dipe jalentam manusam janama. You try. Mayam viharasmin deepe jalintam manusam janama. Number 8. You, use the plural here, you cross the sea with sailors to reach the island. So you cross the sea. He crosses tarati, you cross tarata, the THA at the end. You cross the sea, samuddam tarata. You cross the sea with sailors. So, naviko, cognate with our English word nautical, navy, naval people, navika. So with sailors, navikehi saddhim. Navikehi saddhim. In order to reach the island. The word papoti, or in Sanskrit prapnoti, praptum, it means to obtain, it also means to reach something, to get somewhere. So to reach the island, the infinitive in Pali is papunitum. So deepam papunitum, in order to reach the island. So navikehi saddhim deepan papunitun tumhe samuddan taratha. So once more now, translate into Pali. You cross the sea with sailors to reach the island. So navikehi saddhim, to reach the island. Deepam papunitum, you the sea cross, you cross the sea. Tumhe samuddan taratha. Navikehi saddhim deepam papunitum tumhe samuddan taratha. Number 9. The king governing the island wins. So the king wins. Bhupalo jinati. The king governing the island. Also the word used here in the key is protecting the island from paleti. So deepam palento bhupalo jinati. Deepam palento, literally the island protecting or the island governing king wins. Deepam palento bhupalo jinati. And of course the pal in palento and the pal in bhupalo, king, it's the same pal. It means the idea of protecting and governing at the same time. Deepam palento bhupalo jinati. Number 10. We begin to learn the Dhamma from recluses living in the village. So to begin, he begins as arabhati. We begin arabhama. To learn is ugganhitum. It's from that root grah. It's a bit of an irregular root, particularly when it comes into Pali. So the udgrah, literally to take up, is how they say to learn. One of the verbs for to learn. So in the number 10. So the infinitive here, ugganhitum. So we begin to learn the Dhamma is Dhammam ugganhitum arbhama. From whom? From recluses. Samanehi, ablative plural, samanehi. From recluses living in the village. So he lives in the village, game vasati. They live in the village, game vasanti. But from recluses living in the village, game vasantehi samanehi. So the whole sentence then would read, Mayang game vasantehi samanehi dhammam ugganhitum arbhama. I'll say once more. Mayang game vasantehi samanehi dhammam ugganhitum arbhama. Number 11. Searching for the truth, the wise man goes from city to city. So he goes, gachati, he goes to the city, or he goes to a city, nagarang gachati. Now, just as in English we can say he goes from city to city, you can say the same kind of thing in Pali, city in the ablative followed by city in the accusative, meaning from city to city he goes. So, nagaram ha nagarang gachati. Nagaram ha nagarang gachati. So the wise man, here the word pandita is used. So pariyesati is to seek. The wise man seeking the truth is the truth seeking pandita. So satyam pariyesanto pandito. So the wise man seeking the truth goes from city to city. Satyam pariyesanto pandito nagaram ha nagarang gachati. You say it, and I'll say it once more. Satyam pariyesanto pandito nagaram ha nagarang gachati. Number 12. Avoiding the sleeping dog with his foot, the child runs home. So to avoid something is parivajeti. It's parivrajayati in Sanskrit, to turn aside, or to cause it to turn aside from you, or to turn aside from something. So avoiding in the absolutive is from parivajeti, parivajetva. So the boy runs home. He runs dhavati. He runs home. The boy runs home is kumaro gehan dhavati, written with the anusvara, subdotted and written as geham dhavati, pronounced gehan dhavati. So avoiding the dog, sornam parivajitva. He sleeps is sayati, so means to lie down. The sleeping dog would be sayanto sono. I put it in the accusative. Avoiding the sleeping dog, sayantam sornam parivajitva. So avoiding the sleeping dog with his foot, sayantam sonam padena parivajitva kumaro gehan dhavati. You try, and I'll say once more. Sayantam sonam padena parivajitva kumaro gehan dhavati. 13. Wishing to be born in heaven, wise men fear to do evil. So they fear, bhayanti. Wise men fear, pandita bhayanti. Evil is papam, to do evil, papam katum. They are afraid of doing evil, they fear to do evil, papam katum bhayanti. Wise men fear to do evil, pandita papam katum bhayanti. So wishing to be born in heaven. We can use the verb wishing is akankati here. That's your desire, your aspiration, your akanka, akanksha in Sanskrit, akanka in Pali, and makes the verb wishing, desiring, akankamana. So wishing to be born, to arise, uppajitum. It's the same from the same root as uppada, as in paticca samuppada, to arise, to be reborn. That the same verb is often used. Sage in heaven, uppajitum akankamana. That is in heaven, to be born, to arise, wishing. Sage uppajitum akankamana. Pandita papam katum bhayanti. So read that sentence again and then pause, and then you can read it. Sagge uppajitum akankamana pandita papam katum bhayanti. Sagge uppajitum akankamana pandita papam katum bhayanti. Number 14. Departing from the human world. Wicked men are born in hell. For hell we use the word naraka. So in hell is narake. The word for departing, if you're going from one state to another, and in particularly if you are going to a lower state, like gods falling from heaven, people falling from human life into the lower realms. There's the Sanskrit root chyu, meaning to fall, not just to fall over, but specifically to fall from where you are into a lower status. And in Sanskrit it makes the past participle chuta. And here's a word for you. If you've been deposed, knocked off your pedestal, you no longer hold the position that you held your pada. This polysemic, this word with many meanings, is pada. Pada also meaning the abode, your position. If you are padachyuta, it means you have fallen from your position, you've lost your status, you've been deposed. Padachyuta. In Pali, chuta, because it was just chuta. And the absolutive is chavitva. So it takes the ablative if you fall from. So manusaloka, the human realm, literally the man world, the world of humanity. So having fallen from the world of men, manusalokam ha chavitva, wicked men, that's asapurisa, narake uppajanti, are reborn in hell. I'll read that again. Manusalokam ha chavitva, asapurisa, narake uppajanti. Number 15. Having invited the hermit from the mountain, the king gives him a robe. So the king gives, bhupalo dadati, and this is a reduplicated verb from the root da, You reduplicate the first syllable and shorten the vowel. So dadati, he gives. Chivaram dadati, he gives a robe. The king gives a robe. Bhupalo chivaram dadati. Now, to call or to summon, it's from this, the noun mantra, and to invite or to call, in Sanskrit, ni, to call in, to call down. Nimantrayati, in Pali, nimanteti. So having invited is nimantetva. So having invited the hermit or the ascetic, tapasam nimantetva, having invited the hermit down from the mountain, use the ablative either pabbata or pabbatammaha, tapasam nimantetva. So from the mountain, the hermit having invited, the king gives him a robe. Bhupalo chivaram dadati. So I'll say this all once more, and then pause and renew again. Pabbatamha tapasam nimantitva, Bhupalo chivaram dadati. Notice again here, in English we'd have to say the king gives him a robe. You can omit the him here because it's completely obvious. The king, having invited the hermit down from the mountain, the king gives a robe. Obviously it gives him a robe. Now you try, and I'll say once more. Pabbatamha tapasan nimantitva, Bhupalo chivaram dadati. Number 16. Trying to understand the truth, lay devotees become recluses. So the lay devotees is singular upasako, upasaka in the plural, become, the word bhavati can often mean become as well as just be. So lay devotees become recluses. Upasaka samana bhavanti. Upasaka samana bhavanti. So wishing to understand, wishing to learn the truth, trying to understand the truth. Again, we can use this same verb that we had a few sentences back, uganhitum, to learn, to grasp. So to grasp the truth, satcham uganhitum. And to strive to do something is ussahanta. It's the root sah. Sanskrit utsahati, and Pali becomes ussahati. Present participle, masculine plural nominative, ussahanta. So satcham uganhitum ussahanta, striving, trying to understand the truth. Upasaka samana bhavanti. You say it once, and then I will. Satcham uganhitum ussahanta, upasaka samana bhavanti. Number 17. Expecting to hear the monk preaching the Dhamma, lay devotees assemble in the monastery. So the lay devotees, again, upasaka, and they assemble, literally they kind of fly together or fall in together, fly in together, sannipatanti. So that verb means to assemble. In the monastery, vihare, viharasmim, or vihare. So the lay devotees assemble in the monastery, upasaka vihare sannipatanti. So desiring or hoping, we can use the same akankamana as before. So desirous of hearing or in the expectation of hearing, sotum akankamana, desiring to hear the monk or expecting to hear the monk. Samanam sotum akankamana. Now this sotum is from the root shru, which we had on the previous page in my notes. Shru, shrutam, and the infinitive, the guna of the u, so shrutum. So past participle shrutam, infinitive shrutum. And that's how you get sotum in Pali. So samanam sotuma kankamana, expecting to hear the monk preaching the Dhamma. So deseti, Sanskrit deshayati, literally to point out, to show, becomes deseti in Pali. Present participle desento, in the accusative desentam. So dhammam desentam samanam sotum. So to hear the monk preaching the Dhamma, expecting to hear the monk preaching the Dhamma, dhammam desentam samanam sotum akankamana upasaka vihare sandipatanti. So you say that sentence once more in Pali. I'll say it in English, then you say it in Pali, and finally I'll say it. Expecting to hear the monk preaching the Dhamma, lay devotees assemble in the monastery. Dhamman de sentang samanam sotuma kankamana upasaka vihare sannipatanti. Number 18. We see with our ears. We see with our eyes, hear with our ears, touch with our bodies. So the eye is one word for the eye is nayanam, from the root ni, meaning to lead. So the nayana, the leading, that which leads. So we see pasama, we see with our eyes, nayanehi pasama. The sotam is the ear, from that same root, shru. Sutehi sunama, we hear with our hearers, we hear with our ears. Sutehi sunama, with our bodies we touch or feel. Pusati, Sanskrit sprishati, Pali pusati. We feel, as in feeling a physical sensation. Pusama, with our bodies, instrumental plural. Kayehi pusama. It's specifically the sense of touch. So we see with our eyes, we hear with our ears, we touch with our bodies. Mayam nayanehi pasama, sutehi sunama, kayehi pusama. Number 19. I am the king governing the islands. So, I am the king. Aham bhupalo homi. Or I am bhupalo bhavami. So, governing the islands, governing, of course, I am the king governing, so it's in the nominative, bhupalo palento. Governing the islands, dipe palento. So I, the island governing king, am. Aham dipe palento bhupalo homi. You say it and then I'll repeat. Aham dipe palento bhupalo homi. Alternatively, using bhavami. Aham dipe palentu bhupalo bhavami. Number 20, you, let's use the plural, you are wicked men who take counsel with thieves. Now, to take counsel, just as we had nimanteti, to advise, to take counsel, to consult with, just manteti, to do mantras with, to do exchange of ideas with. Mantrayati in Pali, manteti, present participle, mantento, nominative, masculine plural, mantenta. So, taking counsel with thieves. Chora is a thief. Chorehi, instrumental plural, with thieves. Chorehi mantenta. You could also have chorehi saddhim mantenta. So, you taking counsel with thieves, tumhe chorehi mantenta, are wicked men, asapurisa hota, or asapurisa bhavata. So again, in English, then you said in Pali, then finally I'll say it in Pali. You are wicked men who take counsel with thieves. Tumhe chorehi mantenta asapurisa hota. Or tumhe chorehi mantenta asapurisa bhavata. Number 21. Good men begin to plant trees to protect the world. So, protect, rakkati, infinitive rakkitum. Also, arakkati, arakkitum. There's no real difference that I can see in a sentence like this. So, in order to protect the world, lokam arakkitum. So, good men begin to plant trees. So, to plant trees, we had earlier, rukke ropetum. They begin to plant trees, rukke ropetum arabhanti. Good men, sapurisa, begin arabhanti. Good men begin to plant trees, sapurisa, rukke ropetum arabhanti. Good men begin to plant trees in order to protect the world. Sapurisa lokamarakkitum rukheropetum arabhanti. You say that, and then I'll say it. Sapurisa lokamarakkitum rukheropetum arabhanti. Number 22. Having heard the Dhamma, the thief wishes to avoid evil. So, to avoid, we had that a bit earlier, parivajjitum. In fact, we had it in the absolutive, parivajjetva. This is now to avoid, parivajjitum. To avoid evil, papam parivajjitum. He wishes to avoid evil, so ichchati. Papam parivajjitum ichchati. The thief wishes to avoid evil. Choro papam parivajjitum ichchati. So, having heard the Dhamma, we go back to our root, shru, su, and it is sutva. Again, it's the last word on my current iPad screen. So, having heard the Dhamma, Dhamman sutva. So now you say in Pali, having heard the Dhamma having heard, the thief wishes to avoid evil. Dhamman sutva choro papam parivajjitumichhati. Number 23. Merchants keep clothes in shops to sell them to farmers coming from the villages. So to keep, if you keep a thing in a place, you can use the verb meaning literally to cause to stand or to cause to stay. You keep something there, keep it there, keep it standing, keep it staying there. And you use the root sta, to stand. The causative, to cause to stand, is in Sanskrit sthapayati. In Pali it is tapeti. The a shortens, not tapeti usually, tapeti. So they keep is therefore tapenti. The merchants keep clothes in shops. They keep clothes. Vatani tapenti. Merchants keep clothes. Vanija vatani tapenti. Merchants keep clothes in shops. Vanija apernesu vatani tapenti. So to sell, vikinitum. To buy is kinati, to sell is to outbuy, vikinati. So the infinitive, vikinitum. So to sell clothes is vatani vikinitum. To sell clothes to farmers, and the dative, we use the genitive plural here. To sell to farmers, kasakanam vikinitum. And here it's to sell to farmers coming from the villages. So from the villages, gama, village, ablative plural, gamehi. They come is agachanti. Present participle, agachanta. Genitive plural, agachantanam. So to farmers who are coming, literally to the coming farmers, agachantanam kasakanam. So selling to farmers who are coming from the villages is gamehi agachantanam kasakanam vikinitum. So I'll say it in English again, then you say it in Pali, then I'll do it in Pali. Merchants keep clothes in shops to sell or to sell them to farmers coming from the villages. Gamehi agachantanam kasakanam vikinitum varnija apernesu vatani tapenti. Number 24. The sick man is a messenger of the gods in the human world. The sick man, here we have a rogi, but here let's use the word gilano. So the sick man is a messenger. Gilano duto huti, a messenger of the gods. God, Deva, of the gods, Devanam. So a messenger of the gods, Devanam duto. So the sick man is a messenger of the gods, is Kilano Devanam duto huti. In the human world, Manusaloke. Yeah, locative singular. Manusaloko, nominative. Manusaloke, locative. So in the human world, the sick man is the messenger of the gods. You said first. Manusaloke gilano devanam duto huti. Number 25. There are good men in the world who admonish wicked men. So to admonish is anusaseti. In Sanskrit, anushasayati. So anusaseti, the teaching of the Buddhas, the buddhanam sasanam. So anusaseti, you admonish somebody. So present participle, masculine nominative plural, would be anusasenta. So admonishing wicked men, or who admonish wicked men, is asapurise, used a plural, asapurise anusasenta. There are good men in the world. So sapurisa loke vasanti, there are good men dwell in the world. You could just say sapurisa loke bhavanti. So I'll read the sentence in Pali, then you say it, and then I'll say it once more. Asapurise anusasenta, sapurisa loke vasanti. Asapurise anusasenta, sapurisa loke vasanti. Number 26. Having picked lotuses from the water, the doctor goes to the monastery to listen to the Dhamma. Right, bit by bit. He goes to the monastery. He goes, gacchati. He goes to the monastery. Viharang gacchati. The doctor goes to the monastery. Vejjo viharang gacchati. He goes to the monastery in order to hear the Dhamma, or to listen to the Dhamma. Dhammang sutum viharam gacchati. So the doctor goes to the monastery to listen to the Dhamma. Vejjo dhammang sutum viharam gacchati. So having picked lotuses from the water. So we had Uchinati, he picks. We had that earlier in this lesson. Having picked Uchinitva. So having picked lotuses, Padumani Uchinitva. Remember, the word for lotus in Sanskrit is Padma, whereas in Pali it becomes usually Paduma. And it's a neuter noun in both languages. So Padmam, Sanskrit Padmam, Padmani, and in Pali Paduma, Padumani. So having picked lotuses from the water, Udakamha Padumani Uchinitva. So the doctor, having picked lotuses from the water, goes to the monastery to hear the Dhamma. Vejjo Udakamha Padumani Uchinitva Dhammang Sutum Viharang Gacchati. How you say it? Vejjo Udakamha Padumani Uchinitva Dhammang Sutum Viharang Gacchati. Number 27. Seeing the Buddha and being pleased, the thief throws away the arrows. So, to throw away, nikipati, in Sanskrit, nishkshipati, from the root kship. Kship. So nishkship, nish meaning away or out, to throw away, therefore in Pali, nikipati. You may remember the phrase sankitena in brief, in the description of the Four Noble Truths, what is suffering, birth, death, old age, blah, 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 all of that suffering. In brief, sankitena, that is from sankship, literally to throw together, past participle, sankshipta, literally thrown together, compressed together, therefore abbreviated in brief. And the instrumental, sankshiptena, Pali, sankitena, just use the instrumental as an adverb here, in brief, in summary, sankitena. So this nikipati, thrown together, nikipati, he throws away. Arrow is a sara. He throws away the arrows, sare nikipati, masculine noun, masculine nominative. So being pleased, pasidati, to be pleased. It means it's actually prasidati. That means the idea meaning to settle right down. You're not agitated and wanting things. You're pasidati. You kind of settle right down. You sit back in, or sit forth, literally. The idea of just you're perfectly settled. So the thief throws away the arrows. Choro sare nikipati. Having seen the Buddha and being pleased, buddhang pasitva. Pasiditva. You don't need to say the and here in Pali. In Sanskrit equally. So the thief, having seen the Buddha, having been pleased, throws away the arrows. Choro buddham pasitva pasiditva sare nikipati. You say it, then I'll say it. Choro buddham pasitva pasiditva sare nikipati. Now this verb, having seen, in sentence 27 here, in the key it's given as pasitva. Remember, this is our root drish, which makes its present in Sanskrit in pashyati, which in Pali becomes passati. Now, in Sanskrit, the absolutive is drishtva. Remember, the sh followed by t always becomes subdotted s, subdotted t. So drishtva, having seen. In Sanskrit, you can form an absolutive from the present base. In Pali, you can form the absolutive from the present base, which you cannot do in Sanskrit. So pasati can make pasitva, which is a form that is not allowed in Sanskrit. You can have drishtva only. But Pali, you can make them from both. So Pali has dita, which is just the Palified form of drishtva, dita. Also, Pali has disva as well. Drishtva makes disva or dita or pasitva. So Pali actually gives you three separate forms. Sanskrit, drishtva alone. So sentence number 28. Wishing to avoid evil, I practice virtue. Now again we have this verb to avoid, parivajjati. So to avoid, parivajjitum. Wishing to avoid, it's parivajjitum icchanto. And if it was a woman speaking, she would say parivajjitum icchanta. So wishing to avoid evil, or the unskillful, we could say papam parivajjitum icchanto, or akusalam, that which is not kusala. Papa is a much stronger word. Papa is positively evil. akusala, that which is unskillful. So akusalam parivajjatumicchanto, I observe or practice virtue. The phrase in Pali is to protect virtue, to protect the sila, the silang rakami. I observe the precepts, I observe virtue, I practice virtue. So wishing to avoid evil, I practice virtue. Akusalam parivajjitum icchanto, or ichanta, if a woman is speaking. Sorry. Ahan silang rakami, I practice virtue. You say it, and then I'll say it once more. Akusalam parivajjitum icchanto, aham silam rakami. Remember, all of the ladies who were saying this, you would have to say ichanta. Number 29, we cook rice to give alms to the monks coming from the monastery. So, we cook. Root pach. We cook pachama. We cook rice. Odanam pachama. So, to give to the monks, samananam datum. So we cook rice to give it to the monks. Samananam datum, odanam pachama. Samananam, that's the dative / genitive plural. So, who are coming from the monastery, agachanti, they come. Present participle genitive plural, agachantanam. So, who are coming from the monastery, viharamha, agachantanam, samananam, datum, odanam pachama. So I'll read it in English, then say it in Pali, then a pause and you say it in Pali. We cook rice. Actually in the English said we cook rice to give alms to the monks coming from the monastery. So you can insert the word danam, datum, odanam pachama. So mayam viharamha agachantanam samananam danam datum odanam pachama. Mayam viharamha agachantanam samananam danam datum odanam pachama. You could omit the word dana without really changing the meaning. It just adds, we cook rice to give it to the monks, we cook rice to give danam datum, we cook rice to give it by way of dana to the monks. You, use the plural here, you go from island to island, searching for gold with merchants. I remember in an earlier sentence in this lesson we had, they go from city to city, nagara nagarang gacchanti. So, you go, you in the plural go from island to island. It's deepam ha, deepam gacchata. Looking for gold. Use pariyesati to search. Pariyesamana could be also pariyesanto, but pariyesamana. Suvannam pariyesamana. Looking for gold. Looking for gold. You go from island to island. Suvannam pariyesamana. Deepam ha deepam gacchata. And you with the merchants. Tumhe vanije hisaddim. So I'll read it once more in English, then say it in Pali, and then a pause, and then you say it. You go from island to island, searching for gold with merchants. Tumhe vanije hisaddim suvannam pariyesamana. Deepam ha deepam gacchata. And finally, tumhe vanije hisaddim suvannam pariyesamana. Deepam ha deepam gacchata. Right, and that concludes Lily de Silva, lesson 13.